All right. Well, okay. So, uh, quite an interesting Gemara. This Gemara here. We're on the bottom of Mem Zion Omid Beis. Amar Rav Huna. So Rav Huna said, Tal yu b'zabin. If they, again, we're talking about where, well, yesterday's daf was, at the end of it at least, was talking about where people were forced. You have people, they have crooks that force people to, they force people to sell their lands, etc., etc. So Amar Rav Huna, let's say they hung him up until he sold. Meaning they're the mafia, right? The mafia's here. They want this guy to sell his. They want him to sell his stuff, his karka, right? And they hang him up until he says yes. So Zvine, his sale is a good sale, right? Which I would of course say fakert, right? Of course, they force the guy to sell it, but say no, it's a good sale, right? My timer. What's the reason? Called the mizavin inish, anything that a person sells, ilav honest, loy have a mazman. If he wouldn't have been forced, he would not sell. Even so, his sale is a sale. Meaning, if a person, basically we're saying, if somebody sells something because he's forced into it, we say it's still considered a sale, right? Why? Because the same thing when somebody has to liquidate a business. So he's not happy about liquidating since obviously he's not doing well. He's not happy about it, but he does it anyways, right? And that's considered a legitimate sale according to all opinions, right? Even though he got himself in a bad spot and he had to liquidate. So they're saying the same thing here. This guy physically got himself into a bad spot. Financially, we're saying everybody agrees if he gets into himself a bad spot, the sale's a sale, right? So we're saying physically the same thing. A guy hung him up. And if he hung him up, it doesn't make a difference. He was forced. So what I asked, well, maybe we could be mechalik between an einus that comes from himself, meaning bottom line is he made bad investments, right? Maybe that's different than einz dachrini, where somebody else is forcing him. Ella Gemara says that's not the source. I look at the Tanya on Tamar Aleph, Yaakov Oisai, it says that he should bring, when somebody is chayiv to bring a korban, it says Yaakov Oisai, he has to bring it. But that teaches us that you force somebody to bring his neder. So then Yochel Korchai. So it's interesting. What's the difference between koifin and Bal Korchai? Right? So kaifin, we've touched it as force. That's probably the wrong way to touch it. Force, it means it's sort of like pressure, maybe. Maybe kaifin would be your pressure. Yachol bal korchoi. Bal korchoi means that you could mamish force him against his will. That's what it. Al korchoi means I'm not interested in doing this, but I'm doing this anyways. It says l'rtzaynoi. So okay, it's not kaifin oisai achayim b'roitzani. Talk about nuances. You force him until he says I want. Right? Like Mercy, right? Though you wasn't that a game called Mercy? Right. So you basically force him until he says that he wants. So what exactly is the difference between the two? Bottom line is the guy's not interested in saying yes. Right? But okay, but he forced.
This comes up in Gittin. What are we going to do about that?
Yeah, we're going to get to that in a minute. We're getting that very good. We're going to get that in a minute. So the Gemara says, okay, so now that's the source that somebody could be forced into doing something and it's going to be a good sale. So the Gemara says maybe that's not a good proof either. Bottom line is everybody wants it to be a kapara. He knows that he has to bring a carbon, right? Karbanos are usually the kapara. Here we go, right? That's Erev Tisha B'Av. That's what we're missing in our avodah, maybe amongst other things, but certainly a main part of it is karbanos, which we unfortunately don't have, right? So maybe ultimately you might be forcing him, but he's happy about it. Okay, so we slug that up and we say ve'elam be seifa. It comes from the seifa. right? Which is v'chein ha'tomer begitei noshim, by gitei noshim. When the man does not want to divorce his wife, we force him until he says that he wants. So the same type of thing. We're forcing him, meaning you can't go beat him up. He has to say it on his own, but you can make him a sugar until he says it on his own. Right? So when I ask for Dilma Shani Hasa, maybe there's different mitzvah l'shmaya divrei chachamim. There it's a mitzvah to hear the words of the chachamim. Bottom line is the chachamim want him to divorce his wife. If that's what they're gonna be, if that's where they're headed, so then they should divorce. Ella svarahu, it's a svara. Agav einse gomar umakde. Because of his einus, he's gomar, meaning he decides in his das that he's legitimately selling it. Meaning, what's his choice? He's gonna live a miserable life. These guys are gonna make him a sugar, right? So since he has no choice, therefore he is going to. Therefore he does it. I'm not gonna say voluntarily, but he does it willingly. Okay, so Ma'aser Rav Huna, so we're at a kasha get hamausa. So a get, that's the. See, Rashi, Mashpam says a lashon of shekoifin oisay lebal leitzia. Right? Meaning it doesn't sound like they're forcing him, but they're. What was the lashon we used for kaifin? Convince. Convince? No, we said something else. I don't remember. Anyway, so get the musa, be Yisrael. Pressure. Thank you. Pressure. Right, so get the musa, be Yisrael, kosher. If it's a Yisrael, then it's kosher. But if it's from a guy, then puzzle, then it's puzzle. I mean, if the guy is doing the pressuring, then the get is puzzle. If a yid does the pressuring, then it's kosher. And let's say the Jewish court hires the Goyish court, right? Not the court. I'm sorry. If they just get hoodlums, they get Goyish hoodlums, right? So then they hit him, meaning the Goyim hit this guy, and asa ma she Yisrael and they say do what the Yisrael is telling you to do, right? Then that works. Okay, so what's the kasha? Why does this all work? Meaning, why is the get no good if it's a guy? Meaning, if a guy does it on their own, hasam nami neima agav einse gomar megarish. Why don't we say no? Even if it's a guy beating him up to get him to divorce his wife, but bottom line is that his alternative is to die. So he's very happy to give the get. Right? How can we only say that by a yid? We don't say that by a guy. So ha'itmar Allah, the Gemara says this is what we say. Amar Amashashia, Tvar Torah afilu ba'akum kosher. Min Torah, even a guy forces, it's kosher because bottom line is like we said, he can be forced into it or not forced, coerced or pushed into it. Then it's kosher. Matam amru ba'akum basel. Why do we say that by a guy it's puzzle? Because then what's going to happen is anytime a woman has a problem with her husband, she's going to go convince a guy to, she's going to do her thing with the guy and convince him to go beat up her husband. And then we're going to have a problem. She's going to get herself away from the husband, meaning she's going to go convince a guy to go beat up her husband until he gives her a divorce, and now she got out of the marriage.
Right? That's what she wanted.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Which is no good. Which is no good if it's not done legit. It's no good, right? So that's the problem. So that's what the Gemara is saying now. So really the Gemara is agreeing. Fine. So Masav Rav Amnuna, Lokach, this we had yesterday's daf, Lokach misikrikin. If somebody buys a field from a sikrikin is a guy like the mafia where they force people to sell. So he knows that he illegally bought it from one of these goyim that's crooks. Because of a Lokach mi balabayas, and then he went and he took it from a balabayas. Meaning he went and he took it from the original owner. Right, again, he bought it from the crook, and And then he felt bad. I don't know if the feel bad is really part of it, but he went and he bought it from the balabais. Mikchay batal, the mekach is batal, meaning he does not get to keep the land. So Gemara says, "V'amai asam nami nema agav einzig gomer umakni." Why don't we say over there too that because agav the einus, right? He was gomer umakni. Meaning, why are we saying that if he buys it from the owner who had it taken away from him from the crook, it's not a good kinyan? Wasn't he was forced, but he's very happy to sell it. His alternative was not good. So Gemara says, no, that's not a kasha. Ha itmar Allah, that we already said, like we said in yesterday's daf. That it only the kinyan doesn't work where he tells the buyer, yeah, go do a chazak and be kind it. And there was no shtar, there was no anything. So there, where that the owner Taka didn't give up his land willingly because he just told, yeah, go buy it. Our shtar kana, but if they went so far as to write up a shtar, then we're gonna assume that he meant it legit. Right? So then the Gemara asks, but if that's the case, but according to Shmuel says that even with the shtar, there's no kinyan. We don't believe that this guy was being makna this field willingly. What are you going to say according to him? So Gemara answers, Shmuel's maida, where the buyer gave money to the owner, to the original owner that the field was taken from this crook, then there he's maida. Because if he's already taking money, then that means that he legitimately did mean to give up the field. All right. So, right. So that comes out that the machlokes would be where the guy didn't pay him. Yeah. Does the shtar or lack of shtar kick in? Basically, what the machlokes is between Rav Shmuel and these other shittas here is how much does the original owner have to do to show that he's legit? Fine. Then Ula-Rabibi, the Messiah, but Mishmeda Rav Nachman, but the Fi Rabibi, who said in the name of Rav Nachman, also in yesterday's daf, Karka Ein Loi. The Ganav doesn't get back the Karka, but you still have to give him back his money. Meaning, if the guy who was wanted to get the crook who wanted to buy this thing, so we say, no, you don't get it, right? Even though he paid money for it, fine. But so he doesn't get the karka, but he will get his money back. Then what are you going to say, right? He's saying even he paid money. Didn't we just say that if he paid money, then the kinyan is a good kinyan? So clearly it's not. So we're saying we're not going with that. So Rabibi Memro. Now this next one, I don't know. I don't know when. I don't know when and we implement this rule over here, right? But Rabibi Memro. Rabibi is a memra. Memra the Ravuna loisvirale. It's a memra. It's not a brisa, and it's not a. What else could it be? It's not a mishnah. It's not a brisa. It's just a memra. It's okay. So Rabibi doesn't have to go with that memra. I'm sorry, Rav Huna does not have to go with the member of Rabibi, right? It's just, it's interesting. Like how do you know according to this answer? Then when do you ask this kasha? Oh, it's only a member, right? So therefore, it's not legitimate enough. It's not a legitimate enough opinion. It's not a legitimate enough opinion to be bothered by, right?
Kind of like but there's not even a shmite. So it was like, well, they were talking in the mikveh and they mentioned this. That doesn't count, because it was just part of the shmooze. They while they're drinking coffee or something. It sounds like, but it certainly was something that came out. So
I hear.
How do we discount? from Amoraim, Yeah. Today I can understand how we discount
No, if it would be from Amiram, it wouldn't be a problem. That's what the Rashbam says, the bottom Rashbam. If it would be from Amiram, it would say Gavra Gavra Karabis. That's not a
Right.
problem. The problem is it's from Tanai. It's sourceless. We don't have no idea who it's from. So one doesn't have to have a kasha from someone we don't know. Okay, where's it from?
Well, no, Rabibi's saying it b'shem Reb Nachman.
Yeah, but it's saying that Rav Nachman said it from somewhere. That's why it's a memra. It's not just B'Shem Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman used to say, B'Shem, I don't know who. There is an unknown source to this.
Right.
We don't even know if Rav Nachman holds this. We don't know who holds like this.
Yeah, but it's interesting that we're taking Rabibi and we're throwing him under the bus.
No, we don't even know if Ravini holds of this. Ravini just used to quote this. The Tanoim used to say like this. Okay, maybe yeah, maybe no. We have no idea who holds like this.
Right. Yeah, and right, and that's yeah. We don't. The bottom line is, it's just an interesting thing. Like, oh, okay, we don't have to be concerned with you. All right. Okay. Fine. Amar Rava. So what's the halacha? If they hung him up, and he decided, meaning they hung him up and said, "We're not letting you off that tree until you sell your land," and he admits to it, then it's considered a sale. That's only where the crooks, the mafia, said, just sell us a field, right? That's when we say the mechira is a mechira of basadazu loy. But if they say we want this field, then his mechira is not a good mechira, because why is he saying that for? Right? Meaning, why is he didn't have a choice. Meaning, if he was multiple fields, okay, so he chose a field to sell. It must be that field he didn't mind getting rid of. Like when somebody forces you to do something, so you give him the junkiest piece, right? And even when it says sadazu, that's only where he didn't count the money. Meaning, again, we said by sadazu, it doesn't work. That's only where he didn't count the money. But if he counted the money, then that shows that he really was happy with selling this field. And we only said this where he couldn't get out of it. But if he had a way to get out of it, then it also doesn't work. Meaning, he could have said, give me an hour or two, and then the cops will come save him or something like that. But if he had a way to get out of it and he didn't, then it's considered a good sale. Yeah, fine. And we say that the halacha is by all of them that the sale is a sale. Even when he says this field, it's still considered a sale. Why? Because a woman is the same thing as a field. That is now. What are we talking about? Because Amar said, if somebody hung up a woman, right? And he was Makadisher, Kedushav Kedushin. His Kedushin is a Kedushin.
True love.
That is, I don't know what it is.
Doesn't she have to agree to get married?
That's what we're saying. We're saying that the Kedushin is a Kedushin.
Yeah, but he's forcing her. Does she agree?
Right, that's exactly the point. She don't really have a choice. She's never getting off this
No,
tree.
I'm asking, doesn't have to be with her das?
Yes, the Gemara condition. You need das of the Isha.
Yeah, but you're getting the das from her.
He said
What?
yes.
Because you're
He
hanging
said
her
yes.
upside down?
What?
Somehow this is a form of das. You're forcing her, I guess, is somehow it gets you to das.
That's exactly what the Gemara said. That's exactly the proof of the Gemara. The Gemara is saying that when you're forced into doing it, then yes.
So you can
That
force
yes, that you're
you
saying.
can force a lady into kedushin, correct?
Yeah, Zev, we don't do that these
yeah.
days.
What?
We don't
Yes,
do
you
that.
can.
No, I
but-
understand. So it means if we're makkah shavaya litzia, so that means you can force somebody to forget too, no?
Yeah.
You can
Why
force
say,
some.
Zev, why is it any different than a guy who incessantly dates his wife, makes her nuts until she says, "Okay, I'll marry you."
Well, it's different. She's agreeing, even though he's making her nuts.
He's making her nuts physically, not mamish physically. He's making her nuts. That's the Gemara's point.
Is that one of the shilas you got? Is that one of the shilas you got today?
I hope not. I hope not. But yeah.
I'm saying so kedushin and gittin is the same thing. So you can force somebody in gittin.
What?
Could you force somebody in gittin?
Well, getting you don't need the das of the woman, so it's different.
Well,
No, but you still need his das. That's what we were saying on Amar Aleph. You still need his das, right? That's the whole. It's very hard to understand. It's very hard to understand. Where do you draw the line? Where do you not draw the line? How do you force? That's all these the stories where I'm not with the forcing to give the get. Where do you draw that line? Very difficult. Either way, so we're saying that a field is the same thing as a woman, right? A woman, you could hang her up on the tree, and if she agrees to get married, then it works. So too there. So Marba Ravashi said he's chaylik. Isha vade kedusha lo have it. By a woman, it's not kedushin. Zev Bold holds like Marba Ravashi. It's not a kedushin, right? Why? Who asa shaloi kahagen? Because he's doing something not right. Because he hung up this woman and he's forcing her. Lefikach asu ima shaloi kahagen. Therefore, the chachamim said they're not doing by him either. And saying the kedushin is not a kedushin. Bafkinu rabbanon the kedushin, which is another difficult concept to understand. Right, that the Rabbana took away the Kiddushin, meaning the Rabbana.
It sounds like Ba'atzim the Kiddushin is good, no? Because otherwise, why are they mafkia the Kiddushin? Stamen didn't work. So I don't know if they agree with Zev.
Are you saying okay for the technical? Okay,
right? Because it says he did Shleik Hagen. We're also going to do Shleik Hagen. What do you mean? The Kiddushin never worked to begin with. So it sounds like So somehow everybody agrees. Ikar
I
Adin.
think you're right. It doesn't Taisvis in Shabbos Peiches use this deraya for Kafalem Harkagigis. That's Kalu Vizavin. It's this, you can't back out of it. It's good. Kafalem Harkagigis works. We're Eden.
But then we needed Kimo Kibler.
That was 1,000 years later.
Yeah, that's later. Yeah, it's saying, hey, over here, this was forced. Yeah.
Right. But okay, whatever it is, then also Afkinu Rabbana Kedushim. So basically, what we're saying is really, they are married. Bottom line is she agreed to get married, but the Rabbana said, no, you're not doing this properly, so we're taking it away from you. Which is the next kasha. Fine. So you can do Kaddish Bekaspa. If he marries her with money, because again, he still has to give her something to marry her, even though she's hanging on the tree and he's saying, "You're marrying me, I'll let you down." He still has to pay her. He still has to give her a ring or bia or adim, whatever it is, right? So good. So we know that Hefker Bezdin Hefker. So even though he gave her money, they could say the Chacham could say it's Hefker Bezdin Hefker. Makadosh bebia, But what happens if he was Makadosh with bia? Right? He lets her off the tree. He's boiled her. You can't. That's irreversible. Right? We've had this kasha many a time. Amalei Shavi Rabbanon the bilas no. So Chachamim have such koyach that they could say that the bia is a bias nos. Right? Mamela, it's out. Right? And the kedushin is no good. Fine. Let's see. Okay, let's just see the next story. To Tavi, Tala Lapapi Akina Duzabin. So Tavi, he hung up Papi, right, on a kinra, some sort of kinra tree. That's a type of tree, and then he sold whatever it is that he wanted. Meaning he hung him up, and he forced him to sell him what he wanted. Chasam Rabba Bar Rav Chana Amayda. Rabba Bar Chana signed on the Maida, meaning this Papi. When they let him off the tree, he let everybody know. By the way, I'm listening. Right, we had this a couple of lot ago. I'm doing this, but I'm being forced. Bashkalta, and he also signed on the shtar of shakel, that taking it, meaning that the shtar was a legitimate shtar. So he took both sides here, right? He signed on the shtar that it was not a legitimate sale. He also signed on the shtar that it was a legitimate sale. So Amar Ravuna, man the chasam amayda, shaper chasam. Somebody who signs on a mayda, it was proper. He did the right thing. Uman the chasam ashkalta, shaper chasam. He also did. So once there's a stira, right? You can't have both. You can't say that the guy was legit for signing on the shtar that's mayda, that's letting everybody know that this whole sale was forced. You can't sign on the shtar that it was legitimate. So which one is it? So the Gemara asks, it can't be both. It's either one or the other. Right? So the Gemara says, ilav maida, if this guy would not, what was his name? Papi. Right? If this Papi would not have let us know that this sale is being forced, then the one who had signed on the shtar that it was a legitimate shtar would have been legit, which is basically like we said before, that even though he's forced, the shtar is still a good shtar. Right? Rav Huna l'tamei, and Rav Huna is going lefi his shita. Damar Rav Huna tliyo v'zavan zvine zvine. Like we said on Amar Aleph, that you hang somebody up and you force him to sell, then his sale is a sale. Okay, we'll stop over here. The Olam can thank the Rashbam for getting to have more time to eat. Right? Yeah. Okay, let's say
Time is Tisha B'Av this year.
what do we say?